a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Roger Taylor, Queen drummer. Roger Meddows Taylor is an English musician, singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist, best known as the drummer for the rock band Queen. As a drummer, Taylor was recognized early in his career for his unique sound. He was voted by radio listeners as the 8th greatest drummer in classic rock music history in a poll conducted by Planet Rock in 2005. As a songwriter, Taylor contributed songs to Queen's albums from the very beginning, composing at least one track on every album, and often singing lead vocals on his own compositions. He wrote or co-wrote 3 UK #1s and contributed a further 5 major hits. He is also commonly known to have been the main writer on the international top 10 hit, One Vision, although the track is credited to the whole band. He has collaborated with such artists as Eric Clapton, Roger Waters, Roger Daltrey, Robert Plant, Phil Collins, Genesis, Jimmy Nail, Elton John, Gary Numan, Shakin Stevens, Foo Fighters, Stewart, Steve Vai, Yoshi, Cindy Almasny, and Bon Jovi. As a producer, he has produced albums by Virginia Woolf, Jimmy Nail, and Magnum. In addition to his drum work, Taylor sometimes played keyboards, guitars and bass on his own songs. During the 1980s, in addition to his work with Queen, he formed a parallel band known as The Cross, in which he was the lead singer and rhythm guitarist. During the early 1980s, Taylor was also a panelist on the popular UK quiz show Pop Quiz, hosted by Mike Reid. According to the Sunday Times Rich List, Taylor was worth £80 million or around $127 million as of 2011. In 2014, he appeared in A Life of Rock with Brian Pern as himself. Taylor is also well known for his falsetto vocal range. Early life. Roger Taylor was born on the 26th of July 1949 in the West Norfolk and Lynn Hospital, Extons Road, Kings Lynn, Norfolk. The new maternity ward was opened by the future Queen Elizabeth II, where she was introduced to 16 new mothers including Mrs. Winifred Taylor, his mother. Taylor first lived at 87 High Street in Kings Lynn, but later moved to Beulah Street in the town. Taylor's first school was Rosebery Avenue School. Taylor moved to Truro, Cornwall, southwest England, with his mother Winifred, father Michael and younger sister Claire. When he was 7 years old, he and some friends formed his first band, the Bubbling Over Boys, in which he played the ukulele. He briefly attended Truro Cathedral School. Then, at the age of 13, he joined Truro School as a day boy. At the age of 15, Taylor became a member of The Reaction, a very busy semi-pro rock band formed mainly of boys from Truro School. Taylor had originally learned guitar, but became a drummer when he realized he had a more natural aptitude for it. Taylor taught himself to tune his drums, inspired by Keith Moon of The Who, because of the great drum sounds on the early Who records. Another key influence on Taylor was drummer Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience, who Taylor stated was his early role model. In 1967, Taylor went to London to study dentistry at the London Hospital Medical College, but he soon became bored with dentistry. He changed to biology and obtained a BA.Sc. at East London Polytechnic. 1968-1970, Smile. Taylor met Brian May and Tim Staffel in 1968 after a friend saw an advert on a notice board at Imperial College for a drummer. Smile included May on lead guitar, Staffel on lead vocals and bass, and later Taylor on drums. The band only lasted for 2 years before Staffel departed to join Humpy Bong, leaving the band with a catalogue of only 9 songs. Smile reunited for several songs on the 22nd of December 1992. Taylor's band The Cross were headliners and he brought May and Staffel on to play Earth and If I Were a Carpenter. 1970s present, Queen. In 1969, Taylor was working with Freddie Mercury at the Kensington Market. Mercury, then known as Freddie Bulsara, was an avid fan of Smile. The band split up in 1970. In the same year, Taylor turned down the chance to become drummer for Genesis, which led to Phil Collins joining instead. Bulsara convinced the remaining 2 members of Smile to continue and he eventually joined the band, which he renamed Queen. In 1971, They found bass guitarist John Deacon and brought him into the band, before going on to release their self-titled debut album in 1973. Taylor is the third most credited songwriter for the band, usually contributing 1 or 2 tracks per album, and he is considered a prominent songwriter. His compositions for Queen include songs written by Taylor, but credited the band collectively include. Many of these feature Taylor on vocals. His voice was very recognizable, for both its high range and raspiness. His extremely high falsetto, sometimes going above an A5, was characteristic of Queen's vocal harmonies, and was often thought to be a woman's voice, or a synthesizer effect. His vocal range spans 4 octaves. Taylor's lead and partial vocal credits include 1977–present, solo career. Taylor has had a productive solo career, releasing 5 albums. His first single was his 1977, I Wanna Testify. He recorded it during Queen's sessions for the News of the World album. The A-side, although a cover of the Parliament song of the same name, was completely different from the original. The B-side was a self-penned song, Turn on the TV. Taylor's first solo album, Fun in Space, was released in 1981. Taylor performed all vocals and played all instruments aside of about half of the keyboards, which were done by engineer David Richards. With Queen still touring heavily and recording at the time of release, Taylor was unable to promote the album to its fullest extent, so he appeared on some European TV shows to promote the single, Future Management, including Top of the Pops. The only other single to come from the album was My Country. The only US single released from the album was Let's Get Crazy. Taylor's next venture, Strange Frontier, came in June 1984. The 3 singles from the album were the title track, Beautiful Dreams, and Man on Fire, the latter becoming a live favorite for him in later years. No attempts to promote the singles were made since Queen toured to promote the works, and Taylor did not perform on any TV shows. Strange Frontier included guest appearances by bandmates Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and John Deacon. Mercury sang backing vocals on Killing Time. Deacon remixed the B-side, I Cry For You, and Rick Parfitt co-wrote and played on It's an Illusion. David Richards, Queen's engineer and producer at the time, also co-wrote 2 of the tracks. The album includes covers of Bruce Springsteen's Racing in the Street and Bob Dylan's Masters of War. In 1986, Taylor co-produced Vigilante, the 6th studio album by rock band Magnum. After Queen finished their 1986 Magic Tour, Taylor started a new band, The Cross, which released 3 albums over their 6 years of existence. In 1993, the band split up, after performing one final gig at the Gosport Festival. In 1994, Taylor worked with Yoshi, drummer and pianist of X-Japan, and released the song Foreign Sand, and a reworking of The Cross, Final Destination. The album Happiness was dedicated to the Tasmanian tiger Thylacinus cynocephalus, but most especially for Freddie. Nazis 1994, from this album became Taylor's first hit single in England, and was followed by 2 other top 40 UK hits, Happiness and Foreign Sand. In 1998, Taylor released his 4th solo album Electric Fire. He supported it with a small tour in the spring of 1999, on which Brian May joined him at the gig in Wolverhampton. Taylor also performed one of the first internet gigs for which he got a mention in the Guinness Book of World Records. In 2010, after nearly 12 years between solo albums, Taylor planned to release a new studio album titled The Unblinking Eye. The first single, of the same name, was released on the 23rd of November 2009 as a digital download. But due to popular demand, it was released as a limited edition single. Originally leaked to the official Queen fan club's website for members only, it still managed to be on YouTube within hours of the early bird release. It was announced in late 2012 that fans would be able to vote on which songs appeared on the new album, with the album itself slated for release that year. The album is called Fun on Earth and was released on the 11th of November 2013. The Cross. The Cross were a side project of Taylor's that existed from 1987 to 1993 and released 3 albums. While still the drummer for Queen, Taylor fronted the Cross as rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist. On its debut release, the Cross incorporated dance influences which they dropped on their remaining 2 albums. The band never enjoyed much commercial success, except in Germany. Shove It. After Queen's 1986 Magic Tour, the band members went their separate ways to do various solo work. Taylor decided to form a new band with whom he could tour. He had already written and recorded the album himself before finding a band to play the songs with. He eventually placed an ad for band members in a national newspaper, hinting he was a famous rock musician. The position of keyboard player was duly offered to Spike Edney after 2 successful Queen tours in which Edney had played. When the auditions were over, the lineup was completed by Peter Numan on bass, Clayton Moss on guitar and Josh McRae on drums. Taylor himself would take the responsibility on lead vocals and rhythm guitar. The first album, Shove It, was released in 1988. In Europe, Heaven for Everyone contained Freddie Mercury on lead vocals and Taylor on backing vocals. However, on the single version and American album version the roles were switched. The European CD contained an extra track in the second shelf mix, the US version having Feel the Force as its extra track. The band promoted hard, with many TV performances of singles including an appearance at the Montreux Golden Rose Festival in 1988. The tour took in dates in the UK and Germany. 3 singles were released from the album, Cowboys and Indians, Heaven for Everyone, and Shove It. Another single, Manipulator, was released in 1988, but it was not included on any album. It was also the only song from the time that had joint writing credits, Taylor sharing them with Edney and Steve Strange. Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know. After finishing Queen's 1989 album The Miracle, Taylor went into the studio with the rest of the Cross for the first time to record Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know. The band composed the opening track, On Top of the World Ma, with a riff bearing a resemblance to the Led Zeppelin track Whole Lotta Love. The rest of the album consisted mainly of individually written songs, except for Power to Love, which was the result of the combined effort of McRae, Numan, and Moss. Clayton Moss sang lead vocals on his own track, Better Things, and Spike Edney played mandolin on Final Destination, which was written by Taylor. Final Destination was released as a single, as were Liar and Power to Love, the latter being the last single to be released in the UK by the band. Final Destination came with a live rendition of Taylor's song, Man on Fire, as a B-side, and Liar had a brand new track, In Charge of My Heart, which was also penned by Taylor. The 12-single and CD of Liar also included extended remixes of both Liar and In Charge of My Heart. The instrumental section at the beginning of In Charge of My Heart was used as the opening to concerts on the accompanying tour. Closer to You had been planned to be released in America, but never was. The group having seemingly given up on the UK market, the accompanying tour only included dates in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Ibiza. Unusual for such tours, every song from the new album was played live. Blue Rock. Made at a time when Taylor's efforts were concentrated on Queen and Mercury himself, Blue Rock gave the other members of the band a chance to take control of the upcoming album. It was in fact mostly written by Edney, who contributed 3 of his own tracks and contributed to 4 more. Once again the opening track was penned by the entire band. Bad Attitude was written by the Christmas Fan Club Party of 1990. The album itself contained a lot of vocals not from Taylor, but mainly of Edney and Numan. Examples of this can be heard in Put It All Down to Love, Life Changes, and Heartland. Blue Rock itself was only released in Germany, so copies are somewhat rare. New Dark Ages was released in Germany with another live version of Man on Fire, whilst Life Changes was released with the B-side, Heartland. It was however immediately withdrawn due to Mercury's death. The tour was in support of Magnum, so the concert lengths were short and very few bootlegs have survived. The tour pace was rapid, covering 20 dates in 1 month. Breakup of the Cross. The band broke up in 1993 after performing a final show. Taylor continued working with Queen and produced solo albums. Drummer McRae accompanied Taylor on his solo tours and also played percussion at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. Both Taylor and keyboardist Edney participated in the Queen Paul Rodgers tours, while McRae worked behind the scenes as co-producer, sound engineer, and Pro Tools engineer for them. In the late 1990s, Edney formed the SAS Band, a group with an ever-changing lineup of popular 80s musicians. 21st century. Taylor has appeared along with May for various other events and promotions, including Queen's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001 and the Party at the Palace in 2002, celebrating the Golden Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. In 2004, Taylor, May, and Mike Dixon received the Helpman Award for Best Music Direction for the musical We Will Rock You. At Live Earth in 2007, Taylor opened the concert with Taylor Hawkins of Foo Fighters and Chad Smith of Red Hot Chili Peppers. Taylor and May, performing as Queen, also appeared 3 times on the American Singing Contest television show American Idol. The first appearance was on the 11th of April 2006, during which that week's contestants were required to sing a Queen song. Songs performed included Bohemian Rhapsody, Fat Bottomed Girls, The Show Must Go On, Who Wants to Live Forever, and Innuendo. The second time Queen appeared was on the show's Season 8 finale in May 2009, performing We Are the Champions, with finalists Adam Lambert and Chris Allen. The third appearance was during the 11th season on 25 and the 26th of April 2012, performing a Queen medley with the 6 finalists on the first show. The following day, they performed Somebody to Love with the Queen Extravaganza Band. In November 2009, Taylor appeared on the popular reality TV show The X Factor with May as Queen mentoring the contestants, then later performing Bohemian Rhapsody. Also in that month, Taylor confirmed he was planning to tour with Taylor Hawkins, which Taylor described as a quick tour. At the 2011 MTV Europe Music Awards on the 6th of November, Queen received the Global Icon Award, and Taylor and May closed the awards ceremony, with Adam Lambert on vocals, performing The Show Must Go On, We Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions. In 2011, Taylor, along with Steven Tyler and Roger Daltrey, joined the advisory board of Edge Music Network. Taylor performed in the 2012 Summer Olympics closing ceremony in London on the 12th of August. In 2013 and 2014, Taylor served as an executive producer of the movie Solitary, directed by Sasha Crane. In addition to those duties, he provided original music, including the song When We Were Young, and 3 instrumental songs which serve as incidental/background music in the film. And during the closing credits, Taylor also appeared as special guest for Welsh rock artist Jace Lewis and his project Prydaffield, with Taylor providing drums on the track Wrath. On the 15th of November 2014, Taylor joined the charity group Band Aid 30, playing drums alongside current British and Irish pop acts on the latest version of the track, Do They Know It's Christmas?, at Psalm West Studios in Notting Hill, London, to raise money for the 2014 Ebola crisis in Western Africa. On 5 and 6 September 2015, Taylor, along with Led Zeppelin's John Paul Jones, joined Foo Fighters on stage in Milton Keynes to perform a cover of the Queen and David Bowie song, Under Pressure. Influences and favorite drummers. Taylor has stated that his early role model as a drummer was Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. He said, I still think listening to Mitch Mitchell, especially the early stuff with Hendrix, is just fantastic. This fusion of jazz technique and wonderful riffs. But with this rolling ferocious attack on the whole kit, it had lots of jazz influences, I think. In fact, for me, he played the kit like a song. It was just wonderful. Total integration into the song. Not just marking time. Taylor has also expressed great admiration for John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. Speaking of Bonham, Taylor said, the greatest rock and roll drummer of all time was John Bonham, who did things that nobody had ever even thought possible before with the drum kit. And also the greatest sound out of his drums. They sounded enormous, and just one bass drum, so fast on it that he did more with one bass drum than most people could do with 3, if they could manage them. and he had technique to burn and fantastic power and tremendous feel for rock and roll. However, for just sheer technique, Taylor described the jazz and big band drummer Buddy Rich as the best I've ever seen. Speaking to Modern Drummer in 1984, Taylor also described Keith Moon, the drummer of The Who, as absolutely brilliant. He had a total unique style. He didn't owe anyone anything. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?